Welcome, Kindred Souls, to the Sacred Clan podcast. This is your space to slow down, breathe deep, and come home to yourself. I'm Sarah. I'm honoured to be part of the Sacred Clan, which we know is a brand, yes, but so much more than that. It's a living, breathing community founded in reverence for nature, divine feminine energy, and those ancient threads that weave you back to your inner self and your intuition. With me today are two fabulous souls, kindred spirits from two different continents, faces you will well know. We have Courtney of the Fox and the Ivy, and we have Vanessa of the Song of the Swan. And it's so beautiful to watch your collaborative journey, but you're both from very, very different places. To start, I wanted to ask, how did you come to know each other?
Through Instagram.
Really?
Yes. So we were talking about this yesterday, ironically, before we knew that we would be asked this, and neither of us can really remember when we started following each other or when the first conversation happened, but at some point we recognized each other as, I suppose, social media friends, or whatever term you want to use there. And then there was a point where I chose to move to the UK, which was almost 2 years ago now. And Courtney happened to be traveling the UK at the same time.
Yeah.
And we also can't remember this, but one of us contacted the other asking if the other person wanted to meet up because we were both going to be in the same country, because I'm from Australia and she's from America. So we live very far in our regular lives. So yeah, we met up in Scotland for the first time.
Wow. What was that like? Whereabouts in Scotland did you meet up?
We met up in the Highlands in Glencoe. So actually we first met up in, I think we met up in Glasgow.
Yes.
And then we hired a car and we drove up to the Highlands, and we enjoyed our time together so much that we extended our travels together. So her and I took an impromptu trip to Dartmoor then a few weeks later, and then we extended even further because we had such a good time with one another. And then she came to Ireland with me for a few days shortly after the Dartmoor trip. So we had gone to 3 separate places, all in kind of like something that was supposed to be just a few day trip turned into probably equivalent to probably a 2-week trip at that point.
And we'd never met before.
You'd never met before.
No.
It's so curious because we've talked before about the community that your genre, your artistry creates. This is living proof of it. And the collaborative connection that you have, to be so brave as to sort of, go on a huge journey together is massive.
Yeah.
You must have felt connected through the work that you do. Had you been following each other for long?
I genuinely don't even remember how long I had been following her, but I know that we would always kind of instinctively comment on one another's things, just to kind of show that support and recognize, hey, I recognize you as an artist, as a creator, as a romantic, as a dreamer. I love what you do. I love the way you create your art. And I see, similar things in, I feel a similarity to you and what you share and what you post. And I feel as though we would get on very well, and it just was kind of that mutual recognition, I think.
Wow, it's a huge risk, and it paid off. It sounds
there's something instinctual about our friendship. I think I knew that we would get along in person, and which is why I was so comfortable meeting her. Very glad I did.
Well, so are we. And the collaborative relationship that you have, we've talked before about how what you do is such a vulnerable thing to do. You're putting yourself out there, you're making yourself very vulnerable. It must be quite special to sort of forge that connection with someone you met for the first time, and then you started kind of collaborating and working together. What sort of shape does that take? How does it feel to have somebody sort of on set with you, as it were?
It is. It's so fun because it feels like you have your own personal hype woman or cheerleader, because it's so funny to be out in the nature doing it, and then going home, and when you go to edit, you can hear the background of saying you are a queen, you are a god. Like you'll be standing on the top of this majestic cliff and just having these like very like magical majestic moments, but then also these really like sweet wholesome moments of a person who, you know, like appreciates you, like recognizes and appreciates your artistry just as much as like it's like a creative, it's really like such a collaborative process. You feel like you have somebody who not only cheers you on but also can look at it as a piece of art and say, okay, this framing is maybe not working, maybe stand a bit to the left so I can get this in the foreground as well, or maybe place your hand somewhere differently because that's looking a bit awkward, or you know, somebody who can see the art and see the framing and see the creative piece of it, but then also somebody who, you know, just makes you, because we're all, I think, you know, self-conscious in a way about certain things about ourselves. And I think we can never fully see ourselves the way somebody else does. And I think having somebody who sees you in a really beautiful way just as a person is just really lovely. And when you can find somebody that you get to creatively do that with, it just makes it all the more better, I think.
Sort of like having that lovely creative supportive community that you found on Instagram there with you.
Yes, absolutely, 100%.
Wow, that sounds beautiful. And in terms of the creative process, how is it different collaborating with someone? Like you've gone from sort of having to be your own cheerleader to then having someone with you and coming up together perhaps with shot ideas. What is that creative process like? Do you come up with ideas on your own, or do you share them in tandem, or is it more like a dialogue?
It's a bit of all of that, I think.
Oh, lovely.
We don't have a particular method of how we collaborate together. It's quite organic, I would say. We sometimes one of us will have just a hint of an idea that we suggest to the other person, and then suddenly it snowballs because we're both throwing in more ideas. Or sometimes it's something a little more concrete, but I think we're very fluid in the way that we work, and we work so well together. I think there's an understanding between us that's always been there, and it's very effortless, and it makes working together so fun. And some of the things that we've done together are my favorite projects that I've ever worked on, without a doubt, over the course of like multiple years. So it's definitely a dream partnership, I think, for me.
Sounds really special. And while we can see the sort of the threads that connect you, that soulful, the wild feminine, those elements of what you do, you both still have such very distinctive individual styles. How do you balance that togetherness with maintaining your sort of your authenticity, your sense of self in those moments?
Yeah, I think again, like you said, we both have very commonalities about the things that we share. But then I think for myself, I feel like I have this essence about me that very much leans into kind of like the Celtic folklore and the kind of you know, ancient kind of structures and that type of thing. And I think with Vanessa, it's she still has those elements, but like I think displays them in a different way. And just like I feel like the it's both very distinct but also similar in a lot of ways. And I think we are able to create those distinctions with maybe even something that's like, I feel like when I look at one of Vanessa's photos, how she edits it, how she poses, like it could not even be of her face, and I know it's her. Like I know it's her photo, even regardless of, you know, where it's coming from. I know it's one of her photos because just I think it brings it all together of the editing, posing, outfit choice, all of those kind of elements I think work together to kind of create your distinct voice as an artist.
And blending that with someone whose aesthetic is similar but again different, unique. What's your experience of that?
I think a big part of how we're able to collaborate but also keep our distinctive voice is that we both honor each other's differences and we support each other's differences. She's not trying to make me like her, and I'm not trying to make her like me creatively. Like we both, I think it's about being seen by someone and being seen in a creative manner and having that be kind of not put on a pedestal, that's the wrong way to put it, but kind of propped up and seen as something to hold on to and be proud of, and that how that can flow with something else, and that two things don't need to be the same in order to work alongside one another. Oh. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it does. That's gorgeous. It's like a collaborative pair made in heaven. It's beautiful. We also enjoy escaping to these magical worlds that you create, that we get to enjoy online. But I know that not every day must be a good day where you feel like the fox and the ivy, or you feel like the song of the swan. What do those days look like for you, and how do you pull yourself through them?
That's a great question. I think there's definitely days I don't feel my best. I think sometimes you just need a good cry. I think sometimes you just need a good cry. Just let it out. A hug from your partner or a loved one. Your favorite comfort movies when you're feeling down. Your favorite treat, a sweet treat or a salty treat. And I think those days just look like being gentle with yourself and stepping away from your phone for a second, putting down the things that, while there are very inspiring things online and on social media, but sometimes when you're not feeling your best, it could also feel very overwhelming. And I think sometimes you just have to set the phone down and be present, pick up a book, read a good book. And I think getting yourself in a better mindset is, I think, what I like to do when I'm not having a day where I feel my best.
That's beautiful. How about you, Vanessa?
I think it's important to remember that social media and the online world isn't real either, in the sense that we're not perfect. We are human. What we put out there might look a certain way, but yeah, we are human. We have bad days as well as good, and that's a common thing, and that's okay. And being gentle with yourself about that is really important. Yeah.
When you've built a community, you have followers, and you know that these people in your community are waiting for that next window into the beyond, into the magical. I imagine it might be a little bit harder to be gentler with yourself. How do you overcome that pressure, I suppose?
I'm still learning that, I think. Similar to what Courtney said, though, like putting my phone away sometimes and just doing things that make me feel calm and okay again, whether that's spending time with loved ones or reading a book or watching my favorite movie, and just removing myself from whatever might be making me feel sad or pressured or anxious. I think that's an important lesson in life. I think being able to remove yourself from the thing that's causing those feelings, and just being able to take yourself back to what's really important.
Yeah, because when you've got these people who you've connected with, who find their safe space is the space you've created. I worry that maybe you feel like you're kind of checking out for a minute or letting us down or something like that. That might be some of the fears that you have.
Yeah, I think it has to be a balance, because I think, like Vanessa said, social media, while there are very real parts of it, like the connections that you make, there are also very not real parts of, sure, we create these magical worlds and these magical settings, but like Vanessa said, we're all human. We all have good days, we all have bad days. And I think we have to realize that taking the pressure off yourself of, you could be looking at someone's best day that they're sharing to the world, but they're going through something so rough. And vice versa. Like, you can easily go on social media and see somebody having a trip of a lifetime, and you're wondering, why can't I have that? Why don't I have that? But you don't know all the work that they might have taken to get to that. They might have saved up for 2 years and pinched pennies. So I think it's social media also comes with this like assumption that somebody is having the best time or doing all these amazing things, and we don't realize like all of the steps behind the scenes that happen to get somebody to that point. So I think we need to like also lower those expectations of, somebody may be sharing all of this, but again, that might be something that they worked tirelessly for. So nothing comes easy. Nothing, you have to, that's but there's also the joy of knowing that you worked towards something and then are finally rewarded for something that, you know, you worked hard for. So yeah, I think just lowering the expectations and also knowing that what is shown on social media, it for the most part is someone's highlight reel, but also I feel like the community that we're also in is pretty good about being vulnerable with one another as well and sharing when we have bad days, and because everybody has bad days and you're going to recognize yourself in those person's bad days too, and I think that's something that you're not alone in either, is having that community who also has those days.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and it's so nice that you have built this safe space to share with your friends, really, who you created through the work that you do. And you've both worked really hard, as you've said, to build these followings, to establish this sort of platform, but we appreciate that behind the scenes you have like real lives too, if you know what I mean. What does that look like? You have day jobs and you have, you know, lives, worlds, responsibilities. You're escaping just as much as we are.
So I do photography part-time, and then my other job is a marketing job in London, and that's something that I studied at university. That was the career path that I was going down, but photography was my passion, so being able to do that part-time, I'm so grateful for. But yeah, it's not my full-time gig, which I think is a misconception for a lot of photographers and creators and influencers, whatever word you want to use. I think there is a misconception out there that a certain number of followers means that must be your everyday life. And it's rarely the case in my experience of people I've met. Yeah. Yeah.
Courtney, you have a whole other world in Pennsylvania, is that right?
I do, yeah. So again, kind of like what Vanessa says, my photography thing is very much part-time. It's something that I do, you know, when I have a moment. So full-time, I work as a nurse. And then when in any spare moment that I have, I'm either editing or shooting or when I can get, you know, whether it be a portrait, you know, photography job, or sometimes photographing things for brands, or creating like content for, you know, perhaps like a music video for an artist or something. Kind of just trying to, you know, cast the net wide and you know, explore my creative legs. But yeah, during the day, I'll you know, I work, you know, the normal 40 hours a week, doing like nursing, and I love that too. But so it's nice to have like the science part of things, but then also have the healing part, but then the creative part come together. But it can get overwhelming, definitely. And some days you're just so mentally exhausted from, you know, a day job that you don't feel like creating. And other days you're like, oh, I can't wait to get out. I've had a terrible day at work. I'm going to go out and just see what I can capture. And each day is different. And yeah, so I think you just, if it's something you love, you make time for it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And you've built such strong communities and strong bodies of work, and you've created opportunities where you've been able to work with fabulous brands, beautiful dresses that we're all saving up for. But I appreciate that wasn't always the case. You didn't always have access to those glorious outfits. What did you do in the meantime? How did you create the dress of your dreams before you were able to access the real deal?
Yes, so I think I used to draw from what I already had in my closet, and I would add on things. I also used to love playing. I still do. I still do. Sorry, playing with fabric, like creating dresses out of a strip of fabric, seeing the way I could wrap it around my body, the way I could like hang it off my shoulders or down my back or something like that, and you know that only cost a couple of dollars getting a piece of fabric from the fabric store, and you could do so many things with that. And that also not only was taking photos and creating something that I loved a joy and an achievement, but the dress, like creating something like that was also part of that. It felt like an additional thing. Like I created something that looks like far more than just a piece of fabric that I wrapped around my body. And also obviously like vintage shopping and secondhand shops are great for really unique, beautiful pieces to make a statement. So you definitely don't need a lot of money in order to have photos that look beautiful, and part of that is what you're wearing in it. I think I don't like the idea that people feel like they can't do self-portraiture themselves because they can't afford an expensive dress to do it in, because that's definitely not how any of us started out, I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah, you've been very creative in your costumes, your outfits as well over the time.
Yeah, so like Vanessa said, thrifting, very key. Fabric. So I used my wedding table. I had like these gauzy wedding table runners. It was like they were kind of like a mauve color, and I just kind of safety pinned a bunch together and kind of just like Vanessa said, kind of like wrapping it around your body and seeing how you can manipulate it to make it look like a garment. So yeah, getting creative with like, okay, what do you have at your house? Do you have old curtains that you're not using? What can you craft out of that? Bed sheets, like anything. And the best part about that is like not only can you use those for, outfits, but you can use them as like drapery as a background for your photos, like for self-portraits or, and then the other thing too is like Vanessa said, looking in your closet and seeing what you already have and how can you layer your outfits to make it look like there's more like volume and length, and kind of just like getting really creative and knowing the keywords to search on online thrift shops, like online kind of like secondhand things too, like the keywords to type in to find those type of garments, like you can look up like dark romance or Victorian vibes or cottagecore or those type of things. Just knowing like how to search for those things, for those cheaper items, I think has been a lifesaver.
Yeah. Is there anyone you've looked up to in terms of their style? Is there anyone or anything like through your life that you've collected from, whether it be storybooks or movies or magazines, that you've been trying to emulate in a certain way?
Movies are a big inspiration for me. I love period dramas.
Oh, there we are.
And I am very inspired by art. Some of my favorite artworks are things that I love to try and not recreate exactly, but be inspired by. And I love like the old Greek and Roman statues where the women are clothed in what literally looks like fabric. That's something very inspiring to me. I wouldn't say like there's a specific person whose style that I attempt to emulate. It's more I gain inspiration from different things, but definitely art and movies are very much the big ones for me.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would say I'm very similar, and I feel like there are two wolves inside of me. One is like very much like love like the really like adorned like pre-Raphaelite kind of style of like these lush fabrics, these very ornate fabrics, and like the jewel tones and all these like really just lush details. But then also like the conversely, very much like I just want to be like a little Irish Colleen in my knitted wool shawl and like chemise or whatever, picking mussels along the shoreline or something. So I think I like the dichotomy of a very rustic kind of like the old like fisherman's boots and like the really like textured wool shawls. And there's also like I'm from kind of like the Appalachian region of the States, and there's like an Appalachia kind of, vibe. If you ever seen the movie, I think it's called Cold Mountain with Nicole Kidman, and like the outfits that they wear in that movie is what I aim to achieve in my daily life. So yeah, it's kind of a mix between like love the pre-Raphaelite, but also love kind of like that, rustic but still feminine and elegant in a way, but can roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty too.
Yeah, exactly what that's a perfect way to describe it. And are there elements of the things that we see online that sort of bleed into your everyday life? Like, what do your best days look like when you feel like you're living like true to your most authentic self?
For me, I think it's like I love when I can put like a good outfit together that I feel confident in. So like wearing what I enjoy wearing, and then if I can be creative that day, whether it's like reading a book that I like or brainstorming, like sitting down and having like a little like journal session with like a nice coffee, and then maybe going out to do self portraits at like golden hour or something, or blue hour when it's like that really dreamy light. I think that's like a pretty and spending time with my cat It's a good day. And his name's Hercules. He's big and fluffy and orange, and he's 14 and he has asthma.
He sounds like a dream. Do you have a 14-year-old cat?
I wish. My perfect day is similar to Courtney's. It would be like putting on an outfit that makes me feel really good about myself, spending time in nature, reading a book, and spending time with loved ones. Yeah, something like that. And also creating something. Yeah, bringing something to life that maybe I'd had in mind for a while. I think that sounds like a perfect day to me.
Oh, that
With
sounds
good food.
gorgeous. Good food. Oh, good food has to be
Key.
center of everything. Well, yeah, we'd love to come with you on those perfect days. But as like a little parting wish or reminder to the people at home watching who are searching for that sense of connection to themselves, to the world, to the earth, to the landscape, to each other, have you got any little whispers of magic you might like to share with them about connecting with each other and themselves?
I would say a whisper of magic is see the beauty in everything around you, because I think once you notice that, your inspiration will be endless.
Oh, that's beautiful.
You need to write that down.
Ooh, how do I
How do
I rival that? I would say that it should be a focus for everyone to be true to themselves and to be kind to themselves. I think that that's life-changing, and that will allow you to make the connections that will impact your life in the best kind of way.
That's glorious. Well, here's to more of those beautiful connections. Thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you it's so lovely to be collaborating with you again. You know, Sacred Clan is so grateful to have you here. Thank you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you.